Hi there, that's right, great and glorious, soon to be famous one day, Nick Dutch, back on the camera again. Hi there, how the heck's it going? And today I want to talk about mad people. No, not because I just looked in the mirror. A lot of you guys would have realized that I've covered a wide variety of different varieties of subjects on my channel. A lot of them have been geared towards the New Age stroke occult world, and some of them have been talking about traditions that people use or cultures that people adopt when they're attempting to do something of a vaguely supernatural nature. Because I think it's important to do a bit of comparing and contrasting of different ideas. Alright, that's just the traditions, okay? And yeah, I've thrown in some stuff for myself as well. Predominantly trying to help people to be a little more self-doubting. When I was looking into, shall we call it, the pagan world, the New Age world and all the rest of it, way back when I was a lot younger. With the strength of hindsight, I can see that there were a lot of people within that environment who were in fact disturbed, and I mean that quite seriously. And they looked out for corroboration of some very eccentric interpretations of the occult and of the paranormal. They looked to try and kick their heels up against something which doesn't really need to have heels kicked up against it. There was an awful lot of confusion and inability to express and understand ideas. I mean, when I started doing this channel way back over 2 years ago now, I had the personal goal to think about just doing it for self-promotion, but then the imperative to try and encourage people to think much more about what they were talking about and to try and bring about more of an analytical attitude sort of got stronger inside me. And of course I didn't quite have the ability then to basically calmly and objectively and rationally express myself, because I had so much pent up passion and anger inside me. Because the word passion doesn't just mean feeling strong about something, it can mean, wanting to attack something at times. And of course subsequent conversations have actually helped put me in perspective, which was very useful. But what I needed to do, and I suppose what I still need to do, is to continually communicate what I regard as being a little more of an intelligent or a little more of a down-to-earth and, as I call it, rational point of view, than to be able to actually say something like, I don't know. Because some people use the phrase, we believe, and then talk about the things that they say they believe in as if they were facts. Not even just suggesting that this was knowledge, but suggesting that this was hard and fast facts. Alphonse Louis Constant, Eliphas Levi, when he wrote Transcendental Magic, actually said that kind of thing was like shallow reasoning. He says, if you know, why do you need to believe? And I suppose if you believe, you've got to realize that you don't know. I suppose I was rather shocked when I heard people talking in this way, when I was involved in a face-to-face way with the New Age and pagan world. Because my understanding was that there were some key books, so to speak, which laid down the foundation of the understanding of the neo-pagan community and the occult communities. Obviously I couldn't be further from the truth, because people don't necessarily follow any particular specific lines of understanding and reasoning within the pagan and occult world. There are certain key authors, you might say, who come to the fore during certain periods in history. There's certain modes of promotion and certain names which are thrown out there to people as if to say these are important people, like Crowley, Gardner, Sanders, the rest of it. But these names, they vary, and the understandings of the people vary with time, and quite dramatically so, to the point whereby the occult world, the occult community, loses track of, or seems to lose track of, what it thinks and the way it understands the natural and or supernatural worlds. I found it quite challenging to have a meeting of minds, bearing in mind that when I personally entered the pagan New Age occult community way back when I was about 19, which was in retrospect, probably a bit of a mistake. I was doing so I could try and understand the experiences that I had, and to try and learn to control them, to bring about a sufficient quality of physical self-healing to help me to overcome a disease, which was quite nasty, which I still have. So if you can't actually have like a cultural basis or a level of information whereby you can identify with people to try and discuss the ideas about, let's say, in inverted commas, magic ritual, becomes impossible. Even down to people's understanding of colours, which is something that I've mentioned before in previous videos. I mean, the number of times I've heard people arguing and breaking up their friendships because they had different interpretations of what the colour yellow actually meant. And so I suppose when I was in those communities, as the debate was mainly religion and what is true or appropriate or apparently correct religion, my thinking moved dramatically away from trying to discuss the occult to trying to discuss religion by their own terms. But the people I was dealing with had a lot of pain, a lot of personal pain, okay? And a lot of it was running very deeply. With the passage of my life, I've actually come across people who've had diagnosed mental diseases. And I've learned to recognize that there are some forms of behavioral pattern, facial expressions, use of language, even bodily posture, which can be expressive of some forms of mental abnormality. Or at least they appear to be. I can't be too sure, of course. But it does seem like there's ways in which you can tell when someone's not functioning on all four cylinders. And I came to realize that I myself was slowly losing the plot, because I was seeing myself as someone who was trying to find out what was true through being in the company of people who weren't functioning on all four cylinders and trying to have an intelligent conversation with these people. I mean, I could feel myself getting more and more irate. I could feel myself getting more and more angry, and I think at that time, as well as there being another of other factors in my life that was really pushing me over the edge, I think it was around then that I seriously turned to drink. And I then, of course I got dry nearly 7 years ago, but that's another story. Because, I couldn't handle it, and after I had made my apostasy, so to speak, from the pagan communities, I was still dealing in the back of my head with all of the aggression, the bullying from mad people, basically the mad bullying that I had personally experienced. Always, since that time, there has been a desire in me to try and work out what was wrong with these people, to try and work out what was wrong with their history that made them like that, what was wrong with society that brought about these damaged characters. And I also realized that the way that they were talking to me had a correlation, so to speak, with the way that they were treated by the people doing the abusing and the bullying. So there was that one particular high priest of a coven, and he would talk in an evangelical manner. At times, it would suddenly move into that, and then there would be the occasional muttered resentments coming out of his mouth as well. And there was another individual who, although he was male and in his early 20s, would suddenly develop the bodily posture and vocal mannerism of an old woman. And I felt that he had some issues associated with a female character in his life from a long time ago. It turned out that I think it was his mother ended up in a mental home after having gone completely over the edge herself. And he had turned into a variety of goddess worshipper, I did notice that there was an awful lot of people within that particular pagan environment that I was in who had serious issues with their parents. There was broken homes, there was like the father having like half a dozen girlfriends and all kinds of other things going on there, and these people would often use some of the pagan cliches or Wiccan cliches like I'm home now I'm a part of paganism, now I'm a part of Wicca, now I'm home, which made me realize or start to feel that the identification with a mother and father deity made sense to these individuals because they had gone insane because of intense psychological pressure. Maybe it's just cognitively, maybe it's emotionally, maybe it's chemically as well, I don't know. But they had definitely been pushed over the edge themselves. And all these people thought they were right. They all, well, the ones that I met, they thought they were in the truth. And on the subject of this thing called magic, they carried on saying, oh, it works, it works, it works, it works. I guess I don't really want these people to drive themselves insane again. I want to be able to do something and say something which can make it less likely that a person who's going over the edge will be driven even further over the edge because of their involvement with the occult or their involvement with religion. I don't feel comfortable with the idea that if Nick personally does not say something, it will make it more likely that just one more person somewhere in the world will suffer. During my time on YouTube, I have had conversations with the occasional individual, and I've tried to help them to move out of basically cult-like situations that they've found themselves in. And in some cases, I've actually been quite successful. And you know, these are people who wanted it, who wanted basically to get out. I wasn't trying to force anybody out. At least I don't think I was. It's been a couple of years I've been doing this now. Relax, okay? No pressure. That's one aspect. The other aspect is I still had those weird experiences that drove me into the occult movement in the first place. I have to put them into an intelligent perspective. So not only do I have to, or I feel I have to, broadcast videos about occult traditions such as, you know, circle casting, demonology, the rest of that, but I feel I've got to try and explain that if you don't know something, you don't know it, and to try and keep things quite that simple, and also to express the idea that proof itself is a stage in an argument. It doesn't make anything hard and fast and concrete. Now there is one more thing I will say, and that is that I am human. And that means I can't do it perfectly. I'm probably going to mess up once in a while. And there's a lot of my ideas I'm still working on, I'm still developing, and I'm still trying to get them more, you know, crystallized. And the way I've been as an individual during this incredibly powerful, for me anyway, very powerful 2 and a bit years here on YouTube. I mean, it's changed me an awful lot. So what I think now, I mean, the like Nick Dutch ideology, so to speak, of if we don't know something, we have to say we don't know it. If we see a ghost, it doesn't mean to say that ghosts exist. It means we've had an experience. If we have an astral projection, it doesn't prove that there is life after death. It proves you've had an experience, which was weird, but it was an experience. That ideology remains constant. That's still what Nick Dutch thinks. But there's lots of other little details which, I've been juggling along with. And of course the more videos I see by some of the, great guys out there, makes me, really gives me a bit more perspective and can help me to see things from another point of view at times. But not always. I've had some wonderful education in logical fallacies and all that fun stuff, okay? But there's still more work to be done on me. Growing up never ends. And there's lots of people who are much older than me, who up here are much younger than me. This has been the great and glorious, soon to be famous one day Nick Dutch. Bid you good fortune, God and or Goddess and or none of the above bless. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.